Hey, my name is Jabi, and Gojira is still my favorite Godzilla movie. But that's because I've only seen 2 of them. The 1954 film Gojira is of course the original Godzilla movie, and like I said 0.5 seconds ago, it is one of the only 2 Godzilla movies I've ever watched. That one doesn't count, and it's debatable if this one even counts. Call me what you will, a fake fan, a fraud, a fucking son of a bitch. I've already had a whole spiel about this topic at the end of my NECA 1954 Godzilla review. Matter of fact, if you wanted to know more about my opinion on this film, you can check out that video. But seeing as I can't put annotations in my videos anymore, thanks YouTube, I might as well summarize. Gojira, also known as Godzilla King of the Monsters, is a fantastic film. The characters are great, the story is intriguing, and Godzilla is legitimately terrifying, for the most part. I highly recommend it to any Godzilla fan, and to anyone who wants to know why this franchise is so respected. Before, NECA released their version of the 1954 Godzilla, and it was a pretty good figure, but an SH Monster Arts version was long overdue. So was this figure worth the wait? Can ball joints be swiveled? The painting and the sculpting on this figure is amazing. This design is where all Godzilla designs spring from. The rough skin, the Stegosaurus spines, and those thick thighs. All these iconic elements are rendered in exquisite detail, and it's all covered in a nice flat finish. In this sense, this figure has the advantage over the NECA version. Another thing that the SH Monster Arts version gets right is the painting on the spines. The frosting on the tips is nice and subtle, unlike the NECA version, which is, I don't even know what the fuck. But there's something that the NECA version gets more right than the SH Monster Arts. With its goofy face and the sculpted in wrinkles, this figure more accurately recreates his appearance in the film. In other words, this one looks more like a guy in a rubber suit. The SH Monster Arts has some of those elements, but they're more downplayed. This guy looks more like an actual creature. The proportions are even more lean to reflect this. If this guy was a rubber suit, he would be a tight fit. But I have to admit, the artistic license taken with this figure is a good thing. Movie accurate doesn't necessarily mean better. Guy in a rubber suit has its charm, but I like my Godzilla with a little more edge. Literally, this guy is shit. He hurts to hold, and I love it. I also love how the paint job of this figure is grayscale. There's no other color here other than black, gray, and white. It's a great way of honoring the original film, if a little bit plain looking. But I'd say there's enough variation in the paint, subtle highlights, and almost non-existent shading. The paint job is plain, but not boring. But even after all these SH Monster Arts releases, they still can't be fucked to paint all the spines. Godzilla. Damn it. But the figure makes up for that slight with the eyes. Kinda hard to see on camera, but the eyes are painted shinier in contrast to the flat finish of the body. That just adds so much life to the figure. That is until you look at him from the front and he looks like a dead Muppet. Sure, it's movie accurate, but with all the changes they made to the design, couldn't they have corrected that? Oh well, it's got its charm. And the mouth opens wide enough for an atomic breath part that does not come with the figure. Matter of fact, this figure has no accessories at all. Bandai, what the fuck? I don't even have to go into detail why this sucks. I mean, you could have had an all-new atomic breath sculpt, because in the movie, his atomic breath looks less like fire and more like mist. Imagine how cool that effect part might have looked. I guess you could call this, missed opportunity. At least you can kind of fit the breath effect part from this guy into his mouth, and that looks alright. But now let's talk about something that's a little more than alright. Fantastic. Ball joint at the head, ball joint here, allows him to look up really far and down really far. Ball joint at the shoulder allows for rotation, bend at the elbow, and this is also a ball joint. Ball joint at the wrist, ball joint at the chest, ball joint at the waist, allows an arcing back and a crunch, and the swivel is very limited. Ball joint at the hips allows for rotation, beautiful spread, bend at the knee, ball joint at the calf, ball joint at the ankle, and that allows for a pretty good pivot. And of course the classic SH Monster Arts tail. I count 15 segments, I might be wrong, and each of those segments has a ball joint, which allows for some really organic poses. So this figure's mostly ball joints, and I shouldn't have to say at this point that every ball joint... Posability on this guy is where the figure excels, which is ironic because the original suit was known to be very clunky. This figure is not clunky at all. The joints are solid and have a lot of range, and it's the most fun I've had posing any SH Monster Arts figure. But there's always something. Yes, that comes off easily, but it's not enough for me to mark down any points. And when it comes to the figure's size, he's on the small side. Here's SH Monster Arts Godzilla, SH Monster Arts Godzilla, SH Monster Arts Godzilla, SH Monster Arts Godzilla, Monica Prime, and the NECA 1954 Godzilla. And while this figure is not bad at all, the painting, the sculpting, the fantastic posability, I gotta say this guy's better. And of course, this figure is awesome. I'd even go so far as to say, I love you, baby. But you got no accessories and you're more expensive than you should be, which is why he doesn't get the double kiss. But regardless, it's a fantastic figure and I highly recommend it, even though the NECA is a better value. But luckily for me, I have all of you beautiful people on Patreon. I would not have been able to afford this figure and almost every other figure I review without you guys. Thank you so much for your continued support. The channel would not even exist in its current form without you guys, especially after my breakup. And if you're not a patron, please consider it. I even changed my Patreon goal to reflect my desperation. And I know it's been a while since I reviewed an SH Monster Arts Godzilla, and for a lot of you, the 1954 Godzilla was probably not the one you were expecting. So let me clear the air. I haven't watched Shin Godzilla yet, but I really want to, and that's why I haven't taken a look at any of the figures, along with some other obvious reasons. Now I might take a look at the NECA Shin Godzilla, seeing as it's more affordable, but I'd still want to watch the movie before I do that. Also, the SH Monster Arts version is really where my heart's set. It'll happen eventually, please stop.